Last evening, we got startling information from The Atlantic about one of the most heartbreaking and alarming tales I've encountered from the current administration. An innocent individual, a legal permanent resident of America, was grabbed from his house in Maryland and shipped off to a jail in El Salvador. All this while officials knew they had made a terrible mistake. This dad was yanked away from his family. This is among the most disturbing reports I've ever encountered. Completely unacceptable, particularly as the president remains quiet while certain senators attempt to justify this action. But it's so awful that even devoted supporters are speaking against it, including a popular podcast host who blasted this unjust removal plan in a segment we'll watch shortly. But first, could I quickly ask you to tap the thumbs up on this video? And if you enjoy our channel but haven't yet, please click the subscribe button. It helps tremendously and genuinely matters to me. Before examining this piece and what the podcast host mentioned, I want to share what a New Jersey senator is currently doing. He's holding the floor in Congress discussing this very incident.
Every day we're hearing news stories of immigrants, some here legally, some awaiting trial, most charged with no crimes, being rounded up, detained, arrested, deported, often just disappeared. This is happening without charges, evidence, trials, hearings, without what the Constitution says, due process. This is what other governments done. We've talked about it in the Foreign Relations Committee. We complain about it to nations across the earth when they do not show due process, where they disappear people. Maybe you're an immigrant that's never broken the law. Maybe you're a citizen. Even if you think the administration's immigration agenda doesn't apply to you, please know that the reckless behavior we're seeing erodes all of our rights. And the American mother and the American child right now, whose husband was unjustly and illegally deported and is right now in an El Salvadorian prison, think about them. Denying due process is a slippery slope. We've seen it in other countries with democratic backsliding. It is a slippery slope. If people can be detained and deported without a hearing, detained and deported without due process, without seeing a judge, nothing will stop from slipping toward deporting others, making mistakes with an American.
I think this might be one of the scariest things we've seen from this administration yet. It's truly gut-wrenching what's going on and how few people are speaking up about it. Not enough folks are telling Americans that what's happening now is just unimaginable. That we're basically living under authoritarian rule, where the president can, without any legal process, send anyone he wants to the world's most dangerous jails simply based on their appearance. That's exactly what happened in this story. The headline says it all: the administration admits deporting an innocent person and simply doesn't care. They've acknowledged mistakenly sending a man to a notorious El Salvador prison due to paperwork mistakes, despite repeatedly claiming there were no errors in their deportation decisions. A sworn statement from a high-ranking immigration official confirmed that removing this Maryland resident was actually an administrative error. Back in 2019, this man, Abrao Garcia, was arrested. Though never charged with anything, he received deportation paperwork. Garcia was denied bail because an unnamed informant claimed he belonged to MS-13. Court documents show no actual proof of gang ties was ever provided. He wasn't, as one senator tweeted, a convicted MS-13. Garcia then applied for asylum and protection under anti-torture laws. He'd come to America in 2011 at just 16 years old, escaping gang threats. Though initially found deportable, the judge granted him protected legal status, meaning he couldn't be sent to El Salvador, where he'd likely face gang violence. This leadership is literally costing innocent people their lives. They admit it and do nothing to fix it. It's honestly one of the most disturbing things I've read from this administration so far. And as I mentioned, it was so obviously wrong that even a popular podcast host publicly called out how shameful the whole situation is.
You know, but the thing is, like, you got to get scared that people who are not criminals are getting, like, lassoed up and deported and sent to, like, El Salvador prisons, like that kind of shit. Because I read some story. Was it Glenn Greenwald?
It was.
Yeah. The gay barber guy.
Yeah.
It's scary, man.
Is that true? Is that story accurate?
I don't think we
Can
know.
you explain the story for people that don't know?
Well, from what I read, I think it was in Time magazine, Jamie, if you can pull it up, and maybe we can get it accurate. But basically, with a bunch of these Agua guys, allegedly they got at least one guy who wasn't a criminal, who was just a gay barber who I think, according to the story, came here legally. He was here legally. That's what they said. Don't know if it's
did
true.
he have a green card?
I don't know what the details are. Maybe Jamie can find it.
No criminal record.
From what it said in that story. Now, this is the problem, right? Because the mainstream media has been putting out so much shit that I don't know what to believe anymore, right?
I feel the same way.
And so it's difficult, but it's something that we actually brought up in one of our conversations. We interviewed the guy from the Heritage Foundation. We brought this up because I think we talked about this with Doge as well. When you do things quickly and you do things aggressively, that's how you get shit done. But that's also when mistakes get made.
Right.
And I think a human being plucked out of nowhere and ending up in a country he's never been in a maximum security prison with gang members, seems like a bad thing to happen to me.
It's horrific. It's horrific.
I don't think that should be controversial.
No, that's not controversial at all. And this is the thing, measured twice, cut once.
Yeah.
This is kind of crazy. That could be possible. That's horrific, and that's bad for the cause. Like, the cause is, let's get the gang members out. Everybody agrees. But let's not innocent gay hairdressers get lumped up with the gangs, and then, how long before that guy can get out? Can we figure out how to get him out? Is there any plan in place to alert the authorities that they've made a horrible mistake and correct it?
Well, if you think about it from a government perspective, and this is where I think it gets quite sinister, is once you've done that, the incentive structure is never going to be to admit that and deal with it. The incentive structure is to say nothing, to cover it up, to pretend it didn't happen, right?
That is horrible.
So someone ends up in a black hole.
I really don't know what to say anymore. When even the people who typically follow whatever MAGA does or whatever Trump says, who drink the Kool-Aid and believe the false claims, when someone like that senator tries claiming this guy was in MS-13 despite it being completely untrue, that's telling. When your deportation program is so ethically questionable that even your most loyal supporters are speaking against it, maybe you're just wrong. I'm honestly speechless. Last night I couldn't even sleep because we've reached that point. This isn't some theoretical worst-case scenario. This is actually happening right now. I'm at a loss for words when this leadership can't be held responsible for just grabbing whoever they want and sending them to overseas jails known for torture. It's beyond description. And what's especially troubling is how many elected officials from the opposition are unwilling to address this issue. I haven't heard enough voices speaking up. I'm really thankful that the New Jersey senator is taking a stand and using his time to highlight what's happening, but it's not sufficient. Not enough have responded, probably worried they'll appear weak on immigration policies. People are literally losing their lives. Our concern shouldn't be about how our messaging sounds. Let's communicate what's real. That this is a genuine threat, that it's frightening, that it could happen to me or you or anyone we know next. Because there are no safeguards anymore. There's no legal process. They simply don't care. All we have left is our ability to speak up, and we need to use it. One reporter gave me a bit of hope last night discussing those demonstrations that are raising their voices, and I want to check that out right here.
Tesla takedowns popped up across the country and here in Western Washington. Linwood, University Village, Soto, South Lake Union, Fife, Bellevue, and beyond.
All the way from Linwood down to Vancouver, Washington. We just rocked it today. It was a great day.
At the U Village protest,
I am so proud to represent you.
Representative Pramila Jayapal was among those to address the demonstrators.
Musk and the Department of Greed and Evil, that's what DOGE is, the Department of Greed and Evil, have got to go.
In Washington state this weekend, Congresswoman Pramila Jayapal did turn up at an anti-Elon Musk, anti-Trump Tesla takedown rally in her district in Seattle. There were hundreds of these all over the country this weekend. In the midst of this rising tide of Americans who are angry and fearful about what's happening in Trump's second term in office, Americans increasingly willing to stand up and do something about it, Congresswoman Jayapal has also started hosting events that are designed to teach the strategy and tactics of nonviolent resistance and protest. These movements have sort of taken off on their own. She's getting specific for how to do training, practical training on how these things work, how they stay nonviolent, and how they can be most strategically effective. She's calling them resistance labs. The first one was a week and a half ago. Congresswoman Jayapal told a local radio station, quote, "We thought we'd have a couple hundred people. We had 850 people sign up. We had to stop people from registering because we didn't know if we had room." In the end, a crowd of about 500 people packed the building for that first in-person training. They ended up having to turn people away because they couldn't fit them in.
It appears that the Trump administration is willing to ignore judicial decisions, and so that brings us to you in this room. It brings us to the people. That is really the bulwark, the wall against the crumbling of democracy. There's really no other savior or option than the people.
This weekend, Congresswoman Pramila Jayapal decided she would hold a follow-up, a second so-called resistance lab. The Congresswoman says more than 1,500 people took part in the follow-up event this weekend. Not just people who are constituents, not just people from Washington state. She says it was 1,500 people in 31 different states.
I'm sure this isn't how you wanted to begin your morning or early afternoon. This situation is truly devastating. It was difficult to discuss, but that makes it all the more crucial that we speak up about it. I firmly believe we need to encourage more elected officials from the opposition to do exactly that, to raise their voices right now. We simply cannot stay silent on this issue, and we certainly won't be doing that here. If you want to support this effort, as always, you can subscribe to this channel and leave a thumbs up on this video. And if you've stayed with me until the end, drop a blue heart in the comments. Until next time, I'll see you soon.